Okay, so you will notice in this particular example of an exponential equation, we have a fraction. What we want to focus on with the fraction is we still want to focus on trying to find a common base. So, when I have the fraction 1/3, which is being raised to a power of 8x plus 8, I really want to just focus on the 3 part of that particular fraction. And I want to focus on the number 27. And so I'm trying to decide if 3 and 27 have a common base. And what I realize is that they are both powers of the number 3. Now, because I have the fraction 1/3, when I rewrite that in exponential form, 3 to the power of -1 is the same as the fraction 1/3. So in other words, when you have 1 over some number raised to a power, it's the same as having a negative power of the base. So I've rewritten the fraction 1/3 as 3 to the power of -1. Now, the power of 8x plus 8 still applies. And then on the right-hand side, 27 can be rewritten as 3 to the power of 3. And again, I put that in parentheses because we still have the power of x applying. Okay, so now remember that when we have powers raised to other powers, that we will multiply in order to simplify those. So on the first one, when I multiply by -1, I get a power of -8x. And then also, -1 times 8 would be -8. On the right-hand side, when I multiply, I have my base of 3, and it's raised to the power of 3x. So at this point, I have reached my goal. I have the same base on both sides. And so once the bases are the same, then I can set the powers equal so that I can solve for my variable. So in this case, I'll go ahead and move the 8 over to the right-hand side. So -8x is equal to 3x plus 8. And then I'll move the 3x to the left-hand side. Really doesn't matter. If you wanted to get x on the right-hand side, you certainly could have. In this case, I'm left with a -11x is equal to +8. And then if I divide both sides by -11, then I've arrived at my value for x. X is equal to -8/11. And again, it does not matter whether you put the negative sign on top of the fraction, bottom of the fraction, or just out in front, as long as you have a negative sign somewhere. And again, if you want with your calculator, you could use your calculator to plug that value of x back in, plug it into both sides of the equation to see that you get the same result.